Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Python classes. Today we are going to discuss about the concept called as list. And here, in this particular chapter list, we are going to discuss about the various concepts in list, like what actually the list is meant in Python, how to create the elements in Python, how to access the elements in Python, also how various operations and methods as well as the built-in functions in the list. So let us go to the concept straight away. Uh, so what is a list in Python? List is nothing but it is similar to an array where we can store huge number of elements by taking the support of a single variable. In terms of an array is nothing but it is a set of homogeneous list of elements as we know. But in terms of a list, it is a one which can hold heterogeneous list of elements by taking the support of one single variable. It is a one which can access different elements of different data types by using a single variable which is considered as a list. Whenever we talk about the list is nothing but collection of elements of different data type, where we can change the order of sequence or where we can perform the different operations using this particular list. We can embed one list into another list. We can make use of two different child lists by taking the support of main list. There are different ways of working with this particular list. As the part of the definition is considered, list is nothing but collection of data which can hold multiple data of different types. As I said you, it is a one collection which can hold n number of elements of different data types in a single list. Let us take an example here. Here I have taken an example as x. X is the name of a list. It is holding the elements called as 1, 2.0, RYMC, C, S and E, where 1 is an integer, 2.0 is a float, RYMC is a string, C is a character, S is a character, E is a character. N number of elements of different data types are stored in a single list called as X. And this particular each and every element which is stored in this particular list is having its own particular positions, where the position of list also starts from 0. The first element of an list always will be stored in the position 0. Second element 1, third element 2, fourth element 3, fifth element 4, sixth element 5. It indicates index is nothing but it is a 1 where it represents at which position the elements are stored. The first element is stored at 0, second element is stored at 1, third element is stored at 2 and so on. And the size of the element is, it starts from 0 to n minus 1. The size of the list always starts from 0 and it ends with n minus 1. And whatever the elements, whatever the items or values that we give within the list are considered as elements or items in the list. We call them as 1 is an element or item, 2.0 is an element or item, RYMC is an element or item, C is an element or item. We can call it as either as an element or we can call it as items. So this is what about the basic idea about list. Keep in mind, list is nothing but a collection of elements of different data which is stored in a by taking the support of single variable. And here this is one small example. In order to illustrate this above example, let us go to a Jupyter notebook where I have taken one particular notebook and I have represented the name of that particular list as list is equal to. And keep in mind, whenever we are going to insert an element in Python in list, insert an element in list, we have to use an operator called as open and close square bracket. So first I will go with a purely integer values. I am going to input only the integer values in this particular list called as list 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I run this particular program, there is no error, so it is going to the next slide, next cell. Then I want to print it, print list. When I run it, it will print the output as 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want to input the elements related to string. Then I will take list 1 as an example. List 1 is equal to open and close bracket, within that something as, let us say, ry open and close double quotes rymec, comma, open and close double quotes csc, comma, Ballari, and I will print it. Print list 1. When I run this program, it will print the output as rymec, csc. Okay. So the next is, I want to print only the alphabets. In that particular case, I will be using something as a, comma, something as b, comma, c, and I will print it. I will print it as print of list 2. Print of list 2 is not defined. Sorry, list 2 is equal to, now run the program. It will print the output. So this is how we can input the elements in an array. That is what creating elements in a list. Inputting an elements in the list is nothing but we can input the elements by taking the support of a particular variable where we can store either a purely an integer values or purely a string values or purely a alphabet values. Now if I want to access a mixed group of elements, then I will take something as the list name as mix is equal to open and close bracket. Within that I will write something as 1980, comma, open and close bracket open and close double quotes rymec, comma, b plus now print it. Print mix. It will print the list of elements of different data type. List of elements of different data types which are stored in a specific variable which is called as a mix. This is what about how we can input the elements using list. Next is how you are going to access the elements from the list. So here, whenever we want to access the elements from the list, index value plays a very important role here. The index, as we know, the index value of this particular values are started from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Similarly here also, if I want to access the elements from the list, like accessing the elements from the list. So in order to access the elements from the list, we use an index value, where that particular index value is represented by taking the support of an operator which is called as open and close square bracket. So for example, let us take an example of mix itself. I will use mix. Let us say that I want to print mix first. Okay, so we have the elements, 3 different elements, where the first element is stored in 0, second element is stored in 1 and the third element is stored in 2, right? 0, 1 and 2, these are the index. Now I want to access the element, I want to access the element of 0. If I want to access the element of 0, I will use the list name followed by open and close square bracket with an index value, and when I run the program, it will provide me the output as 1980. Whereas if I want to access the element of 1, comma, 1 is to 2. This is the starting index and this is the ending index. When I use this and when I enter, it will print the output as what? What it will print? It will print the output as according to us, it has to print the output as RYMC and B plus, right? But it will not print B plus. Instead, it will print only RYMC because the starting and the ending index 2 is a 1, which is the ending place where the second value will not get printed at all. In this particular case, if I want B plus also to be printed, then I have to use 3 as a ending index value. So here let us do one thing. Let us add some more values here. 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, and let us run this. Okay, similarly let us run this. Now let us go back to our problem. Mix of open and close bracket, mix of open and close bracket. Within that, if I want to start from the first index value, if I want to print the list of access the list of elements from first index value to some specific value, then I will be using a syntax with the name called as mix of open and close bracket with colon, and I want the ending index. And when I run this particular program, it starts printing the value from first index and second index 0, 1 and 2. But it will not print the third element. Why? Because it is the ending index. Ending index will not get printed at all. So it will print the first, second and third in this particular case, and this is what the output is. Okay. Similarly, if I want to access the elements in the form of zeroth element, like first element to the last element, then I will be using 1 is 2, and when I execute the program, it will provide me the output as, it will start providing me the output from first index to the last index. And similarly, we can also access the elements by using a negative values, where negative values, whenever I want to access the elements from last to first, then I will be using a negative values as an index variable. So if I use -1 and when I execute it, see here -1 is nothing but it starts from 3, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 and -6. Similarly, if I use -1 is 2, -1 is 2, -3, what will be the output? Output is null. This is we can't access this particular thing here. Instead, we can try with this. See, 3 and B plus double colon minus. If I want to access from last to first, then we can use -1 is to -3. This indicates what? We can also print the elements of list in reverse order by using this particular case. -1 is to minus, no need, -1 is to last. When I enter, it will provide only 1. -1 is to minus -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. -1 is to -6. It will print me the output as what? 3 comma 4. Similarly, if I use this, it will provide me the null. So this is how we can access the elements in Python. And this is what about in order to access the elements in Python, we have to use an index variable, which is must and should in order to perform the operations in Python. Identifying the accessibility, it depends upon the index value. Which item you want to access, that particular item index must be known to us in order to access that particular element. If I want to access the element at the third, which is at the third position, then I must know what is the index value of it. If I want to access from first to last, then I must start from the first index value to the last index value. And this is how we can perform the operation with list in Python, or accessing the elements with Python. And this is what about the list in Python and its basic. In the next class, let us discuss about operations of Python, methods in Python, and we can also discuss about the various built-in functions in Python, and also what is list slicing process. Okay, hope you have understood this particular concept. Any queries, you can feel free to have a comment on my video. We can have a discussion on this particular aspect and we can move further with. Thank you one and all.